Hello everyone, NadLabs here. Today we're going to be learning how we can make this entire bug PS1 looking creature entirely from scratch in this about 1 hour video. I just want to give a couple of disclaimers. There are a lot of bug images, so if you're uncomfortable with bugs, please click away from the video. And second of all, I find that this video or this specific tutorial that I made is quite long and I do ramble a bit, so feel free to skip around using the timestamps in the description to a part that may be a little bit more suitable for whatever you're looking for. But with that being said, I hope you enjoy and learn something, and you don't really have to follow along with this. I don't expect anyone to follow along and actually make this exact same bug creature, but just take the general ideas, tips, and principles that I talk about over the entire video and stuff that I've found. And yeah, that's all really that's really all I have to say, and enjoy the video. Hello everyone, NadLabs here, and today we're going to be learning how we can make these PS1 style graphics in Blender. As you can see, those are some old heads I was playing around with, but I thought this one looked the best. I think these are the same, but whatever. So today we're going to basically be making things like this, where we can. I'm actually going to go to layout mode so you can see it better. So basically, PS1 style graphics. That's all I can really describe them as. Just really old looking graphics that are kind of scary, and they also emulate the old PS1 style where you have like segmented limbs, so they're all like their own object. As you can see over here. You can rename them in your game engine of choice. So I'm using Godot. I renamed them in Godot. It doesn't really matter what I named them over here, although that is messy to some. I don't really mind because I'm not using Blender for most of my thing. And yeah, so I'm basically going to be going over the thought process and the way I make these because I think they're I think, and a lot of other people have told me that this is kind of horrifying and scary, but I think they're pretty cool and interesting, and some people thought it would look good in a horror game or action game. So yeah, I'm going to go over like the inspiration and just the basic shapes and how I get all of this stuff to work. If you're new to Blender, this is a great tutorial, I hope, for you. And let's get right into it. So I'm just going to close all my projects and we're going to hop straight into it. This is going to be a bit of a longer tutorial, and the best place I like to start looking for pictures is actually on Unsplash. Basically, it's a website where you can get free usable images, best way to describe it. And basically, you can just look around for some inspiration. So the previous 4 images I showed, or the 4 objects I showed, were like animals. I want to do something more like a bug this time. So I'm actually going to be looking around for some scorpion-like textures. And what I essentially want to do is I want to look around for, or at least a bug of some sort. I want to go around and I want to look for an image that I could potentially use for textures. Now, what do I mean by texture? So, for example, in the let's go into Pink Spotted Demon. In the Pink Spotted Demon one, if I open over here, if I go over here into my blend file, you can see that, yeah, it looks kind of like a nightmare or an LSD simulator or something like that. But when I click on, let's say, the body, and I go over here to my UV editing, which is basically a fancy way of saying to the actual images, and if I click A to select all, you can see that I'm basically sampling the exact same texture over and over again. Now, what is this texture? Well, if I hop over here to my Photoshop file, base textures, you can see that it is just snakeskin. It might not look like snakeskin in its entirely pixelated form, but over here it's snakeskin. Here's like a rooster, some crocodile skin, I believe, some elephant skin, some rocks, and then like a crocodile or alligator. I know there's a difference, but I'm not sure what this image is. And you can just see it's the eye followed by some red outline. As you see, this was the original image, and I just tinted it a bit, but left the eye the same color. And that's why we have green eyes over here. And you can see if I just click on the head, and if I click on the head, click Tab to go into edit mode, and click A, you can see that I'm sampling over the elephant skin a bunch of times. And I also have the eyes mapped out right over here, mapped out right in front of the eyes. And for the mouth, I'm actually using a different texture. I just didn't find the original textures I had to be sufficient, so I actually put together a different set of textures for the mouth. And you can see over here that we have some like crocodile jaw type textures with some meat, some raw meat, I guess. And I'm not really sure what a square is. Oh, I know what that square is. I'll show that square in a second. But you can see over here that we have some meat textures and some for the teeth. Oh, where are the teeth? Oh, and as you can see for the teeth, I actually wanted to do some dark, like yellowish one, and I purposely left this one white just because. But as you can see over here, the teeth, I actually sampled this really, really small section of just like pink jaw. And you have to get really creative when you're making these because, as you can see, there's not something like, I guess I could have used these white ones, but they're not really like yellow teeth kind of, and there's nothing really yellow except for his the jaw over here of this alligator. So I'm just going to be using that for the teeth. And if I just click the slash key, you can see over here that I have the crocodile's mouth over here. I guess I would leave it there because if this is in a game, right, and this enemy dies, you're not going to be seeing any of it unless I make the jaw specifically destructible. And if there's a problem, I can change it. But I just thought I'd leave that as a small Easter egg because, as you can see, this is how you can like map a picture to your 3D object anywhere, and that's just the basics of it. And I'm actually going to be going over all of that, and this is going to start with the inspiration part. So I'm just going to be copy pasting some images over into this blank Photoshop file over here. And I'm just going to be, you can use GIMP or whatever you want, but I'm just taking some images that I think will look good and actually want a black background. But I'm just going to be doing a quick time lapse of what you should like pick up. Like if you want to go to Pinterest or something and look for inspiration, you can do that as well. But I'm going to be going over with like a bug or scorpion type creature. I'm not exactly sure, but that's the best part. You don't really need to know what you want to make before going into it. You can always like piece together whatever comes in front of you and just build on that. So I'm just going to come back after I look for some images. So I'm just going to pause the time lapse real quick. As you can see over here, I have this zebrafish, I guess, and I just want to, I think it's a zebrafish, and I just want to get rid of this blurry texture because I don't really want that. So I'm just going to be like snipping it out, and whatever tool you're using, obviously you can snip it out there as well. If not, you can always use GIMP or some like Photoshop alternative. I'm just using Photoshop because I'm comfortable with that, but you can totally do it in GIMP or whatever. And as you can see over here, I'm just going to be getting rid of that section so I can put more textures and images into this. So yeah, that's something you can do. And I'm going to go over here. So it's like some tutorial bug creature, I guess, or like some sort of bug creature, right? This is basically what we're going to be making. Base textures, obviously. Okay, so let's continue. Oh, also, I just want to say one more time, I am a biology major, and I really like looking at electron microscope photographs, and they're really interesting and cool, and I think there's a really good source of textures. As you can see, I'm just plonking random textures down. It looks like a collage from a fourth grader, but that's okay because we can basically snip and grab pieces of textures from everywhere, and I'm going to be going over how you can do that. I mean, I'm literally showing you right now, like these are like placenta type things or some sort of like cancer cells highlighted in really specific fluorescent markers, and I'm basically going to be using these to make a bug creature, and I'm going to be showing how you could do the same. I mean, I'm just grabbing textures from a free website, so nothing too hard in my opinion. As you can see, you can like play around with the layering and everything. Oops. You can play around with the layers and you can like get really cool effects. Okay, so after working with a little bit of collage stuff, you can see that I've pieced together quite a nightmare. And obviously this is what you kind of want because I'm going to be using all of these textures little by little, and it's going to be making a pretty interesting monster that no one's ever seen before, and that's obviously what you want to do. So as you can see over here, I have my PS1 style characters, and I'm just going to go back to the base textures, right? So you can see I have all these images, and I want to condense them down to something PS1 style. So the PS1 actually supported, I believe, it was 256 by 256, and that's basically what happens. So you can see over here I have to zoom in, and it's really pixely. Like I know Windows like the Windows Photo app blurs everything, like anti-aliases kind of, but as you can see, stuff is kind of blurry, and that's exactly what I want to do. So this is a 2K texture, or it's if I go to create new, you can see it's I actually made the size to 2048 by 2048 by 2048, and this is the exact same thing, but I'm gonna go control shift alt S or whatever your exporting one is, and I'm just gonna be making a PNG of 256. Was it this one too? Yeah, it was 256. Yeah, 256. And basically now, as you can see over here, it's really pixely, and that's exactly the style we want. But I can see over here that this bug is now kind of messed up, so I'm just gonna hide that and grab a new one. I'll be right back. There we go. Actually, I wanted to get rid of the other bug, and now I think this is a really good texture. You know, I have some sort of animal type textures, and I also have some sort of like alien type textures, and I think that's good enough. I'm just gonna shrink this down a bit so I can get more of those cell structures in. I think those look pretty cool. And yeah, so I'm just now going to export this. Control Shift Alt S, and 256. Of course, you can use whatever you want, and also make sure it's nearest neighbor or some sort of like cubic or something. Something that represents like pixely look. Like this is the pixel look we're trying to go for, because we can now use these textures to make our creature. I'm just going to click save. I'm going to go from Freddy. I tried making a Freddy one, and I tried making a time lapse, but it turned out to be a monkey. Whatever, tutorial bug creature. Base textures for the tutorial bug creature. So after that, you can just close up your Photoshop and everything, or GIMP or whatever you're using, and we can hop over to Blender. So I'm just going to be making a new file, a totally brand new file. Of course, we're going to get rid of the default cube, and I think I need, actually, you know what, there's a couple of tips over here. So this is going to be the area where I talk about tips, and you can see over here we have some primitives, our default shapes. We have cube, UV sphere, icosphere, and these are basically the three things I've used to make my entire thing. I didn't use circle, not cylinder, cone, torus. I didn't use any of that. I used UV sphere. And the best part is, if you take a cube, right, and of course I placed the cube back, oh my god, but if you take a cube, right, and let's just go to our scorpion, or at least a bug-like creature, and if we take a look at the geometry or the body shape of it, or at least if we go to the scorpion, we can see it's kind of like a flat, longish shape, and to just emulate the PS1 style graphics, we can go with something extremely low poly. So that means low polygon count. As you can see over here by Miziazizi, I think that's how you pronounce it. Very low polygon count, very blurred pixelated textures, and that's kind of what we're going for. Yeah, something like this. Of course, I also watched this video. These are really good tutorials. And you can basically see that's essentially what we're going for. And to start with that, you can either click Control 1, or if you don't want to, you can go over here to this wrench, and you can click the subdivision surface modifier, which basically makes this cube low poly. I mean, that's all you really want to do. Click Control A to apply it, or you can go over here to apply, and now we have the body of our insect, I guess. And you can go over here, and you can obviously like stretch and scale it. And I think that's a nice oblong body. If you're wondering why I didn't use the cylinder, it's because I didn't want to, but also I mean, you could use the cylinder if you want to, but I prefer the low poly aesthetics of the cube. And also there's one really interesting you can do. You can actually grab these, and then you can click S to scale and just bring them in, and it kind of makes like a hot dog shape. And this is kind of like the low poly effect I want to go for. So I'm going to go here to the tutorial bug creature, call it tutorial bug creature as well. Just save your work. So you can see we have like a body shape kind of down, and now you can go over here and like just grab a vertex, click Control R, and now you can like create this edge loop. You can increase or decrease it, but I just want one. I'm gonna place it like kind of over there, and I'm just gonna expand it. Click Alt. I'm just gonna click Alt, and I'm just gonna click this line. I'm gonna click expand this as well. I'm gonna do Control R again, and I'm just gonna be expanding this over here. Maybe yeah, maybe if I want to move that forward a bit, and if you're gonna be moving stuff forward, make sure like you click numpad 1, 3, or 7. I know there's alternatives with the top row of numbers, but I don't know them, and you could probably Google a tutorial that will tell you better. But I'm just going to be moving this up a bit. Maybe this will be the head. So let's just see. So our character is now backwards. No, not an issue. So I just want to make sure that when I click 1, I see the side, 3, I see the front, and 7, I see the top. So that's basically what's going to be happening. You can see I have the head over here. If we're going for a scorpion-esque feeling, I feel like we should have a tail. But when I think about it, a tail's really hard to animate, and no, a tail's not that hard. So we're just going to be making a tail. So I'm just going to be grabbing these, going to the side view, clicking Control right click, and you see it messes stuff up. Yeah, it messes stuff up, but also it fits in with that low poly aesthetic. And what I found is people are really forgiving for a lot of jank and weirdness in your models if it looks interesting. And that's one thing I found about this art form, at least, as really cool. People will really forgive really weird models. Like, for example, when I showed off the models over here in these folders, it was really weird, but people liked it as far as I could tell when I posted them to various social media sites. People said it looked interesting, and that's basically what we're going for. So you can see over here, I'm just clicking S to scale down a bit, and I'm just going to be scaling it on the X-axis over here, going to the side. Maybe I want to rotate this over here a bit, and I just want to make it down a bit. I'm going to be expanding this a bit and going over here. I guess we could have a tail of some sort, or maybe I can come back to expand. And this is basically the entire process. We're just going to be going through and making our character. So over here I'm using a UV sphere, and I can't really show it. Yeah, I can. Just move you over to the side, delete this sphere, and I'm going to be placing in a new sphere by clicking Shift A to add, or if you right click, or if you click F3, you can just click add something, or add, I don't know. I just click Shift A, that's all I do. Shift A to add, and you go to UV sphere, but you can see over here it's really high poly, so you can just go over here to segments, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this on YouTube, at least from what I've seen. To make primitive shapes, you can just go over here to the UV sphere or something, or at least any of those primitives, and just modify the rings and segments or whatever properties they have to create something really low poly. And now we have a sort of a head type structure. But as you can see over here, we have like a face sort of, we have a face going down kind of. So if you ever want to fix it, you can just grab the two endpoints and you click S to scale. Make sure if you click the period key, you can see that I have the medium point selected, so that makes it easier to scale it. I'm just going to make it scale down a bit. It looks kind of like that thing from Finding Nemo. I guess when I add the legs, it won't look like that. But over here, we have our face. And we're just going to be clicking off to the side, clicking Shift A to add, and maybe I'll add a cube. Actually, I'll go with the icosphere just to show what I usually do for limbs. Like, this is my go-to way to making limbs. So of course, I have to hide these. And I'm going to be adding a icosphere. So over here we have the icosphere, really high poly. We're going to be bringing down the subdivisions to 1, and this is perfect. So what I do is I usually scale this down a lot, and I then scale it on the z-axis. I scale it up a bunch, and then I take these two vertices at the top and just scale them in, and we have our limb. That's a really simple way to make a limb, I found. I'm just going to select that leg over there. I'm going to be moving it over to the side. And sorry if this is not a really good Blender tutorial. I'm still new to Blender and making Blender tutorials myself. So over here we have a limb. I think that limb looks weak, so I'm just going to expand it. Then I'm going to be shrinking it down on the z-axis again. I still think that limb looks a bit too weird. So we can go back over here and we can see that we're like creating a creature type thing. Now, of course, I want to get rid of this tail because this tail is hideous. I'm very sorry for keeping it around for this long. So delete vertices. Then I know Blender users might say never to do that, but I do, and I've never encountered a problem. So I'm just going to be clicking Alt-C to go into this X-ray type of view. I have a vertice selected, so you can like play around with whatever you want to select. And over here, I'm just going to be selecting these vertices, clicking F to make a face. And as you can see, this face isn't perfect, but no one's going to be looking at the back, especially if there's a tail over there. And that's kind of it. So we have our front limbs down, or the front appendages, or front arms, whatever you want to call them. We can now place the back legs, I guess. This is kind of going for like a tortoise type feel now, with the back legs, I guess. I don't know. But the best part about this is if you're making these PS1 style creatures, there's a lot of creativity and a lot of like just freeform art that you can do that you don't really have to be too conscious of making a mistake because it's low poly. It doesn't really matter. And if we go over here to like Quake, I'm really scared of Googling, like going to Google Images. But okay, whatever. We'll just go to Google Images. But if we go to Quake enemies or something, you can see that we're doing something really similar to these. Like their low poly, grungy, messy aesthetics are what make Quake so amazing to play. Like this was, of course, it was like 1990. Of course, it was 1996 when Quake came out, but still, these aesthetics are loved by people till this day, and people still play Quake. And you can see that, of course, there's a higher version, and that's totally cool. But this is that's still too high poly, and that's not the original one. Like this is what you would see in the original game. Like it's low poly, and you can see the aesthetics and the faces are all kind of messed up, but it's cool. It looks interesting, and people played Quake. And hopefully, if you make graphics like PS1 style graphics, you can also get a pretty cool game going. Okay, so we're just going to be adding a tail now. I guess we could, and I'm all for saving time. So you can just Shift D to duplicate this limb, and you can just fix it on the Z-axis a bit, and you can make a tail. So I'm gonna go over here like this. I'm gonna be adding a tail, so I'm just gonna be putting it back to the center. moving it over here, and you can see over here I'm starting to build a tail. I'm going to be moving this up a bit, scaling it down a bit, and we have a tail again, and we're going to be having another tail. And we can and the reason I'm doing it segmented is because PS1 style graphics also had it segmented, but it's also easier for me to animate it in the Godot Game Engine, which is my game engine of choice. I'm going to be moving this over here like this, and now we have to make that tail type of thing, or at least the stinger at the top over here. So we can easily do, if you want to make complex objects like that, one really easy way is to just grab a icosphere really, and just make the subdivisions low. The subdivisions are low over here, and if I just move it, you can see it's the same thing. Just grab it, plonk it there, and people will understand that that's some sort of club. Or maybe if you want to have a enemy variety, I guess you could use a cone. I don't know why I was shitting on the cone earlier, but you can just lower the vertice amount and to 3, and boom, we have a stinger. Let's just decrease the size, maybe increase it on the z-axis or x-axis. I think it was, yeah, this x-axis, and there we go. Nope. And there we go. We have a stinger on our character. And I know it looks bad right now, and of course you can fix it and play around with it. But in its current form, yes, it looks bad, but when we add textures and stuff, it will look a lot better, trust me. So I'm just going to be rotating it. That's not, you know, if you double tap R, you can get this really cool rotation mode. I'm just going to be placing it kind of like that. And there we go. We have our tail. So I guess that's really all there is to it. So we have our creature. Maybe we could have wings, you know, just because. Cool way to make wings is you just take the cube and you extrude it down, or you scale it down on the x-axis, and over here you can see I'm basically made a wing. And if you want to just trail it off at the end, you can just make sure you have this side selected, E to extrude, S to scale on the x-axis. Actually, no, you can just S to scale it down, and you can have some winged wing tips or tipped wings. I don't know. And there you go. You have some wings. If you want to create a little bit of a bend in there, you can have sort of something like that by clicking this. You can click this proportional editing tool, and you can basically move the wing a bit. So I kind of like that. And over here I have my wing, and over here we have this. We have our wing, and you can just Shift E to duplicate it. S to scale on the x-axis. There we go. You can really scale it on any axis and just flip it around. And there we go. We have our wings down, and there we go. We have our basic creature. And how long was that? 30 minutes. Okay, whatever. So we have our creature down. That's basically all we need. And now we're going to be going to the shading tab where we will make our materials. Now remember how I said we have our base textures over here that are really pixely? We're just going to be copying this path. We're going to be creating a new material. And I guess you could do this at the beginning. I'm sorry I'm showing it so late then. But basically we're going to be grabbing our PNG of our textures, clicking closest. We're just going to be clicking closest over here. It was on linear before, but we're clicking closest now. And we're just going to be grabbing this color line, I guess, and we're going to be putting it to base color. I found this one works really well in Godot. Turn off specular, increase roughness, and yeah, there we go. We have our textures. So I'm just going to be going over, and I know there's a better way to do this 100%, but I'm just going to be going over and clicking material on every single one of these because I don't know how to do it properly. And there we go. We have our entire creature all decked out, and we have our shader or material on it. This is what I want. Then we're going to be going over to our UV editing tab. We're going to be clicking material preview, and over here on the left we can just click this texture over here. And if I go to edit mode and click A, you can see that I can see all the faces. But I want to UV unwrap all of these because I've stretched and scaled them in various ways. So I'm just going to be clicking tab, and I'm going to be clicking A. So actually, sorry, I have nothing selected at the moment. I'm going to be clicking A to select all these objects. I'm going to be going into edit mode, as you can see over there. I click tab to go into edit mode, and I have all these objects selected, and I'm just going to be going to Smart UV Project, and now I've projected all these images. And as you can see, it looks a little bit more interesting. So we're going to be going with the face last, and I'm just going to be adding the body. So I really want the body to be some sort of bug, bee type creature, I guess. So over here, I'm going to be adding this. We're going to be taking, we're going to be grabbing all of these body parts on the top. We're going to be seeing where they all fit, and we're just going to be grabbing, and make sure you turn off proportional editing. We're just going to be grabbing all of these, and we're going to be placing them on top of the bee texture. And now right now it looks really bad. That's because, where'd the other one go? Oh, it's over there. That's because we want to make sure they're all fit. And one way we can do that is if we click the shift the slash key with the question mark, we can put seams onto this. So I'm going to be putting some seams. So I'm just going to be clicking 2 to go into the edge mode, and I'm just going to be clicking all of these. I know you can click Alt and stuff to select all of them, and that's quicker. So I'm just going to be doing that. So I have my seams over here. A seam is basically the place where Blender will cut off the texture. So or at least cut off the UV editing. So I'm going to be mark seam. So now those are marked as a seam that I want to basically use in the future as like one chunk that Blender should not cut apart. So over here, I'm going to be marking the seam as well. Mark seam. I don't know what the difference between mark seam and mark sharp is, if I'm going to be honest, but I just found that mark seam works perfectly fine for my goals. And there we go. I have marked the seam. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4 body parts with the 5th one over here, and of course 6th one. Actually, it loops around. If we want to, you can mark seam over here as well. And if we just go over here, tab, and select all the edges, I guess, and Smart UV Project. Now over here we can see we have our seams all laid out. Still kind of messy, but the majority of it is still there. So we're just going to be selecting this set. We're going to be placing it over this B texture over here. And one thing I noticed is that you really want to make sure you have all your creatures of, or at least all your pixels of similar size. So we'll be placing that over there. Placing this guy over here like this. And just move these like independently to the place that you want. Now over here we have this over here. You can just move it over there as well. And it does look a little bit stretched out, and you can play around with that. So I see that these ones look a little bit stretched. And yeah, you can just move them around. And I feel like the stretched out textures give a more PS1 type of vibe, because there was something called affine. There was a effect on the PS1 called like affine texture mapping on the PS1, where basically it would like create stretched almost. It would almost create stretched type of graphics. Like if you were playing Doom E1 M1, you could see that these are kind of stretched, and there's nothing wrong with it being stretched. I mean, sure, it looks a little bit weird or wonky, but it adds to like the character and the old aesthetic. And if you don't want them, you can always not stretch your UVs, but I find that they look pretty interesting with stretched UVs, so I'm going to be using them. So over here, I'm just going to be moving these around, and obviously now the back looks kind of weird. But we can always fix it later on, or if the entire thing looks okay with that, without it, or with the stretch textures, that's totally fine, and we can change it. So I'm just going to be placing my UVs over this, and it doesn't really matter which order you place them in, because, or at least if they're connected, because remember, we're just taking these random like textures and we're just making a collage out of them, and we're placing our textures over them, or we're replacing our UVs over them. So I'm just going to be selecting double tap A to deselect and select everything. Again, so deselect everything. Okay, so if you have random stuff selected, you can just tap A to select all, deselect, or double tap A then to deselect it. So over here we're just going to be grabbing all of our textures, moving them over to this blue thing. Oops, going to be grabbing you, moving over to the blue thing, and the body's coming together a lot nicer now. I guess we keep the tail, that type of texture. Just going to be grabbing these guys over here, and you can see over here that this is actually a bug. And this is literally the bug over here as well. Might as well just do that. See, we have the pixels going down. And yeah, it looks okay. I mean, yeah, the texture looks a little bit weird, but for time's sake, I'm just going to be speeding through that a bit. Let me just rotate this like that. Move them around so the pixels are kind of in the same length. And if something is stretched out and you really don't like it, you can always just do Smart UV Project. And there we go. We have them back to like we have them back so they're not more stretched. There we go, and I guess we could just, yeah, I guess that looks okay. And now we have our blue body, and if we go over here, and you can see the texture or the animal that we made starts to come together a lot better. Let's just grab the top parts of this wing. That's all we want to grab. We're going to be moving them randomly over to our wing or at least these zebrafish textures over here, and there we go. So we're just going to be, and that's basically all we're going to be doing. We're just going to be grabbing them little by little. I'm actually going to be clicking that shift button, or not shift, but the slash button with the question mark on top of it to just grab all of these. And is that everything? Yeah. Yeah. And we're just going to be grabbing them and moving them over one by one to the side with this zebrafish texture over here. And I'm not doing anything super creative. I'm just like grabbing these textures and moving them around. Oh, oops, what was that one? And as you can see, I'm making something kind of cool in the process, and that's basically it. So as you can see over here, we have our like zebrafish type wings, and I'm just going to be deleting that and duplicating it over to the other side because I'm lazy. Also, it's the exact same thing, so you just want to S to scale on -1, I guess. And there you go. Nope, that's not what you wanted to do. Maybe you could scale it on the Z-axis, -1. What? -1. There we go, and we can just rotate it around. And there we go, we have our wings on both sides. Ah, yes, I see the issue. I guess if you rotate it like that, it kind of fixes it. I guess we can fix that later, but we're just going to be continuing on. And I guess this is the part where the face comes in. So the face is kind of a hard part to do just because this is where like the player will be associating the character and everything about the character with it. So we're just going to be moving and playing around with these vertices to a point where we feel like it's good enough for the creature. So we're just going to be playing around with these vertices to a point where we think it's okay for our face. So you just want something large but also kind of flat so you can put the face there, obviously. So once we think that's okay, we're going to be smart UV projecting it again, because if you want to. We're going to be selecting this face, and we're going to be moving it over a spot where we want the majority of our face to be. I think this is a perfectly fine one, and I can see 2 eye cutout holes, so I'm just going to be placing over some just random eyes, obviously. We're going to be placing them over, and I find it works best if you actually place a dot just before the square. So it's still a square, kind of, but you're actually moving it over to another location, and over here we can just have some blue eyes, like this. And there we go. I know the textures don't align and map properly, but hey, when we view the entire creature, sure, it doesn't look amazing, but at least you have a creature down, and you can always fix the textures around. And I think I'll actually change the textures later on because I don't think they match that well. Alright, so I just went back and changed the texture out. As you can see, I replaced it with this like blue grainy texture, and it's over here. This is basically it. Black dotted yellow ladybug on a blue towel. That's all it is. And over here, we're making a nightmare out of it. So we're just going to be moving our textures, I guess, or our UVs. We're just going to be moving them around. We're going to be grabbing the eyes, so... Hello? I'm going to be grabbing the eyes so I can place them in a better area. And you can just honestly... Oops. You can just honestly do a set of... Hello? Okay. You can just do a set of, maybe green or white eyes or something. Maybe just pure black. Maybe if that's what you're into, just black eyes. Sure, that works too. Or if you want to scroll down a bit and look for bug close-ups and maybe get some bug eyes there, like genuine bug eyes, that also works. As you can see over here, I'm just like playing around with it. That's really all this is at this point. You're just playing around with it. You're trying to get to a state of whatever you want. So I'm just trying to make a scary monster demon type creature from a game. And over here we can have some eyes. I know it matches the body, but hey, this is kind of hard. Because I'm looking over here and over here at the same time just to make sure they fit. And there we go. We have some eyes on our creature. Of course, you can still fix that. I'm not happy with that whatsoever, and I'll probably fix it later. Am I happy with having these legs over here with this type of texture? No, let's play around with it. So let's use this purple texture and see what it looks like. Ooh, that kind of looks like Enderman. That gives me Enderman type vibes. No. Yellow legs. Actually, that could work. I don't see why not. Yellow and black legs. So just playing around with it, placing some yellow and black textures. Of course, it is kind of hard considering I don't have the same pixel sizes, but maybe if I did this and expanded it a bunch, and then I selected other faces and then expanded those a bunch as well. Could you like this, scaling it down, playing around with it. Maybe I just want to zoom in onto this. Kind of gives me like giraffe or zebra type, not zebra, oops, why did I say zebra? But like kind of like a giraffe, I want to say, or like some sort of like, I know B is the obvious answer, but like I'm still getting giraffe type of vibes from this. Expand that a bit. About that size. And oops, there's one more. And there we go. We're just placing it over the B texture. And if I select all of them, you can see I have no more polygons anywhere. And we have our, I think it matches well with the black and yellow of the body. Hey. Why did you turn to that? Just move over down there like that. Hey. And of course, that's what happens when you change the texture in the middle, or at least the image, the base image reference in the middle. You get some weird UV stuff happening. I think that looks okay. I really like this leg, so I'm just going to be duplicating it around. I don't really like those ones. I think that looks perfectly fine. And if you want to randomize them, you can. Here's how you could randomize it. You go like this. You click proportional editing, random, and you grab one vertice. You just play around with it a bit, and there you go, randomly deformed. And if we compare it with this one, you can see that, yeah, the vertices are kind of in the same area. I'm not sure how visible that is. The vertices are kind of in the same area, but they're also kind of different, and that's all that matters. So we have kind of different vertices. I'm going to be putting them in the back now. Of course, I'm going to be moving these over a bit, moving them over back into the character, and yeah, we have the bases of our character going. I think the wings are a bit too flashy, but I also have special plans. I also have special plans for the wings in the game I'm working on, and maybe I might show a little showcase of that at the end. Wait, did I duplicate this? No. Shift D to duplicate. Let's move it over to Y, the Y axis. Now I want to S to scale. There we go. S to scale on the what? S to scale on the Y axis by negative. S to scale negative Y, negative 1. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that looks okay. Zooming out, seeing what I can use. Now time for the tail. Actually, I think that's enough. I'll leave the tail. Maybe I might come back to it later. But for now, I really like where it's at. And I'm going to be just wrapping up the tail like this. I'm going to be... Whoa. Yeah, I think that's okay. Just ending it like that. And I'm going to be getting rid of the tail because I don't really think scorpion flying creature works. So I guess we have like a bumblebee type creature right now because it's like really large. And the laws of physics say that the bumblebee can't fly, but it does. I'm really sorry for that. But as you can see, we have like a sort of like nightmare LSD type fueled creature. If we go over here to our materials, you can import this to a game engine and you can animate it, obviously. Yeah, I guess I can show how you'd animate it. Go over here to our export, GLTF. I don't know what it is for Unity. Over here we have tutorial bug creature. Oh yeah, it takes some time to load because it's on my hard drive. Or the projects are on my hard drive, which makes Godot wait for a bit. New project, we're going to be calling this tutorial bug creature animation. Create folder. Create and edit. We're going to be dragging over our bug. Oops, I forgot one thing. If you want to drag this over to a game engine, make sure you click F3 and all transforms, apply all transforms. That's it. That's what you want to do. And now you can see those orange dots kind of disappeared. We have to go back and replace them. How do I go back and replace them? Well, click F3 and you click origin to center of mass, so the volume. So now you can see that that orange dot is now in the center of our creature, which is important. We're also going to be going over here and we're going to be grabbing all of our legs. We're going to be clicking the the slash keys with the question mark. we're going to be placing our 3D cursor, which is placed by clicking shift right click. We're going to be placing it over here. We're going to be placing it over on our leg, and we're going to click origin. We're going to click origin to 3D cursor. We're going to select this leg. We're going to click origin to 3D cursor, and we're just going to be doing them for all of them. Origin to 3D cursor. And we're going to see why we want to do this in a bit. I think it saves on performance in Godot, but it also, I guess for the head, we could just place the origin where the neck would be. So this is why we want to do it. We want to do it because when we want to rotate our head, we want it to rotate from that point. If we did not place it, then our head would rotate like this, which is more nightmare fuel if you want to add to the nightmare fuel, I guess. But over here, we're just going to be clicking that shift, not shift, slash key, and with the question mark, and we're just going to be placing our geometry origins to where we think they should rotate from. So we're just going to be selecting this wing. As you can see over here, right now that wing's origin is over here on the other wing, because when I set it, I had both of them selected. But I had both of them selected because I wanted to go into the focus mode. So I'm just going to be selecting this wing, and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. And if I don't scale that and I check, yeah, everything seems to be okay. Just once again, I'm just going to be applying all transforms. Actually, you should do that before everything. As you saw over there, it just reset everything to the center. I think everything's okay now. If I export this again in the GLTF, I mean, you could do GLB as well. It doesn't matter, but I like GLTF. Just the way it sounds is cooler. So I'm going to go over here to my open file manager, just drag in my tutorial creature. I'm going to be saying world, I guess. Yeah, let's just save it. It doesn't matter. Animation player. We're going to be dragging in our tutorial. Actually, we're going to be opening our tutorial bug creature. And you can see it looks a little weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my surface one. And I'm going to be going to my albedo, clicking that texture, and getting rid of all of these things over here. So it looks a lot more like what it did in Blender with when we went to closest. It basically mimics closest if you get rid of all of that stuff. Over here to the cube. If you just, I think it's the filter actually that makes it blurry. So just get rid of that. We're going to be just saving all of these. So we just save. What is this? Those right wing. So this is the tedious part. So I can just see the part. Click save. Left wing. You see how here? Head. You see left leg. Not sure left leg or right. Right leg. I'll do right back legs. So left back leg. Left back leg. And over here we have right back leg. And over here we have body. Right save body. And is that everything? I think so. So we can go over here to our spatial, just add creature. So we're going to drag in our body. Actually, we can just drag in everything if we really think about it. So dragging in all of them like this. Looks like a horrible nightmare. 0, 0, 0. No. Hello. Transform 0, 0, 0. So everything's in the center over here. We have our body. We just want to make sure everything, the body is the parent. Then we have the head. We're just going to be dragging the head in front. Then we have our left back leg. Left back leg. Left leg. Left wing. Right back leg. Right back leg over there. Left wing. Left leg. Right wing. There we go. And now it does look weird, so we can just fix it a bit. Once again, it's like a really, really finicky thing. You just have to play around with it. Over here, we're just placing it. Placing it. Nope, wrong side. Grabbing the red square and moving it. Grabbing the red square and moving it. And there we go. We have our creature all set up. We're going to be clicking new. Just, I don't know, idle, like, I don't know, flying, like flap. Just going to flap the wings. So what do we want to do? We want to move. We want to say transform 0, rotation degree 0. I want to zoom in a bunch. I want to set this to 0.01. And I'm going to be moving this up a bit. I'm going to be moving the body up a bit. No, the body moves down a bit. And it will flap up to seem like it's flying. And obviously when we do that, we want to rotate. So we're going to make sure that the body's kind of like falling down here. And then it like comes back up. And that kind of looks like it's moving. So we're just going to be moving this up a bit. We're going to be going to our left wing. We're going to be setting the transform rotation over here. So the wing will obviously have to go up when it's falling down. It goes up. And the wing will have to come down. Almost looks lifelike. So we're going to be going to our right wing. We're going to be setting transform rotation degrees. Wing will come up. Wing will go down. And there we go. Now this is why you want to do cubic, because take a look at it now, and then take a look of it with cubic. It looks so much better. And now we just add a little bit of personality to our creature. So you can see that it's going to look down. Oops, just make sure 100% you set rotation degrees, or whatever you're moving, you set it to like 0, 0 before you start. So it's going to be looking down, and it's going to go wee because it looks up and it's flying. And there we go. So we're going to do, we're going to do cubic, and there we go. It's like struggling to fly almost. We're going to be going with our left leg. And yeah, it's tedious, but hey, it's an animation. It's kind of meant to be tedious. I mean, if you want to do procedural animation, sure, but I don't know if you'll be able to get this with procedural animation, or at least it'll be a long time to get it'll take a long time to get the procedural animation to just the way you want, and it might just be easier to hand code it like this. So as you can see, we're kind of flying over here. We're going to go with our left leg. No, I did left leg. Right leg. Transform over here like this. I'm going to be moving the leg backwards because that's what I did on that side. That's not good. There we go. Like this. Then we're going to be moving it forward because we're flying. And there we go. If I added like flapping noises, it would seem a lot more realistic. That would be so cool. And we're just going to be moving our back legs as well. We're just going to be setting our transform to 0. I'm just saying the same thing at this point because that's literally how these animations are made. Or at least that's how you can make them in Godot. And if you're wondering why I'm not doing this in Blender, it's because I actually find it easier for Godot to handle it. It's just easier for me to keep track of the animations and stuff. I also like the Godot editor, like just the interface. I'm more familiar with it. So over here, we're just going to be moving our leg back like this. And we're going to be moving our leg forward over here. And there we go. We have an animation then of our creature flying. And yeah, I mean, if you want to fix the textures and stuff, maybe make an actual wing and put better textures, go ahead, put them. But this is just a quick demo of how you can go from scratch to model, fully textured model, and go to animation in under an hour. There we go. So yeah, that's basically all there is to it. I might have the project files open on GitHub below. I'm not sure because it's not a full Godot tutorial. This is a Blender tutorial. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But yeah, with that being said, that's all I have to say. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know it still looks bad. Like objectively, this looks bad. But compared to my previous ones, but when you compare it to stuff like this, they're about the same level of quality. And I mean, when you put them into a game and stuff and they're actually moving around, and I guess if I use more real life textures, like this was an actual snowman and this was an actual bear, I guess if you use textures like that, it's a lot more realistic and a lot better. But I still think there's like a realm of like, there's still a need, or at least a market for the like fantasy type creatures like this. And with that being said, yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't have anything else to say about this. I'm just thinking of any, like, I guess there's one tiny caveat, which is if you move something like this, let's say I set the position over here, and if you move it, like over here it was a positive, and if you just move it to where it's negative, so over here it's negative, you can get some really weird stuff happening. So I'm just going to move the leg over to the side. So you can see over here, the leg kind of like jitters around. I guess it's not showing up now, but I'll go to my other project, which I'm actually working on. Save and close. If you get this error, it's just saying that it could not save this scene, which is not the animation scene. It's the original bug scene. It cannot save it, so I'm just going to be going back. So don't save this one. But actually move this back to where you found it. There we go. We have our leg back in its spot. And you can see animation still works okay. If you want to fix it, which I do, just pause the animation. Move the leg back in. And there we go. We have our leg back in. But I'm going to be showing the actual project that I'm working on. I'm going to be showing the actual project that I'm working on. As you can see, this is just errors from adding the child and stuff. Nope, not the wasp, but as you can see over here, this is the game I'm currently working on, and I brought the snowman in. And if I played the animation of the snowman over here, hit with stick, right? If I play it, no, not hit with stick, throwing snowball. If I played the very last bit where the snowball comes in, you can see that the forearm over here, or the left hand, which is a child of the left arm, left hand, and we have a position 3D where the snowball will be thrown. If I just highlight the left hand over here, and you see how it rotates, I can see over here, it's just rotating randomly. Like, that's so weird, and I cannot find a way to fix that, like a really good way to fix that, but in its current form, when I play the game, it's really hard to notice that. It's really hard to notice that. I can see the snowman just going around throwing snowballs at me. If I get too close, it tries hitting me. I'm not sure where the particles went. I'll probably fix that later. You see, oh yeah, I didn't implement the dying thing yet. Oh no, there's dying. Where did it go? I can see over here, then we can just pick up the health. But whatever, that's the snowman down. And I have to fix the animations and stuff, so it's trying to hit me, moving towards me and stuff. But yeah, that's what I did yesterday, and I made this tutorial today, this is today. And yeah, that being said, that's all I have to say. Have an amazing day. Oh boy, it's been a long time since I recorded a tutorial. But here we go. Should I start with? I guess I'll just be zooming in over there. I am recording audio, yeah? Okay. Why? Why are you crashing? Hello, Godot. Okay.